Well, this week started really well. We had a massive abundance of early rhubarb, so I thought, what else can you do but make some rhubarb wine? So I've got 4.5 kilos, enough for 3 gallons, so that's going to be a lot of chopping to do. So here we go. I have got to slice this between 3 and 5 mil, apparently, according to the book that we're following. So I'm in for the long ride on this one, but it's going quite well so far. And I'm getting quite even cuts there. I'm quite proud of myself. I think if Jamie Oliver was watching this, he would be well impressed with my slicing and dicing. So that's the first stick done, into the fermentation bucket. Only about another 60 to go. That won't take long, will it? So I thought to myself, I know what I'll do. It's dangerous, but I'll get the mandolin out. That's going to be a lot quicker. But you know what? It just didn't work. So if in doubt, back to the old style chopping. So this is the last stick now. I've been doing this for about half an hour, and I've managed to not cut my fingers as well, which is very impressive for me. So the last few slices, and then it's going to go into the bucket, and that will be 4.5 kilos of rhubarb chopped and ready to make wine with. And now it's time to add the sugar. Need 3.9 kilos of sugar. Just makes you feel a bit type 2 diabetic just looking at this, doesn't it? But it will ferment into alcohol, so we know that's going to be good in the end. Well, probably not good, but we're going to drink it anyway. So that's 3.9 kilos into the scales, and then all we've got to do then is just tip it into the bucket. And then it goes. That is a lot of sugar, isn't it? Ooh, it's making me feel bad just watching it now when I'm doing the voiceover. So now I've just got to give it a quick stir in, just to try and dissolve it a little bit, just to kind of mix with the rhubarb and get the nice syrup. And once that's done, we can then start thinking about pouring it out and then adding the other ingredients in.
Yeah.
So here we are. It's now been resting for a day or two. It's drawn out all of the juice from the rhubarb. So I'm tipping it into the other fermentation bucket where it will carry on doing its stuff and starting to make the alcohol. And now I've done that, I've got to make sure it's topped up to 15 litres. So just adding a little bit of water in just to take it up to the line. And once that's done, I've then got one more big job to do, which is to get out my hydrometer. And I don't say that to everyone, folks, you'll be pleased to hear. But I've got to make sure that the specific gravity is at the right level for the alcohol that I need. So here we go, Professor Curtis in action. And I'm pleased to say it came out at the level I needed, and it's going to be about 13% alcohol by volume when it's finished fermenting. So because it's rhubarb and it has a risk of being quite cloudy, I'm just adding in some pectolose for those who are interested in a little bit of detail. So that's gone in, and I also just need to add a couple of crushed Camden tablets, which are sulfate, and that will just get rid of any of the bad bugs which might have found their way into the brew at this point in time. So that's going in, it just needs to be stirred in, and then I've just got to leave it for a couple of days. So the lid is going on, and leave it for a couple of days before I'll add the yeast, and then next week I'll give you an update as I take it out into the demijohns. Now we don't get out much nowadays, and this is probably why, but Glenda had a haircut in Norwich, which is the nearest city to us, and this used to be what was known as Anglia Square. It's seen better days, and it's definitely seen better days now, so it's being knocked down and they're going to rebuild apparently, but I just thought, oh, Terminator 2, this looks very, very dystopian. A bit sad to see. Used to be a nightclub there called Rick's Place, where I spent many an evening in my youth, well, in my early 20s anyway, after far too much alcohol and some cheesy chat-up lines, so I felt quite sentimental going past, knowing it had now been reduced to nothing more than rubble. But there is still some mighty fine graffiti. So Saturday morning at 6:15 a.m. we were rudely awakened to this destruction and banging in our garden, and you can see the polytunnel's ripped, the water butt's been tipped over and a plant is smashed. The plants have been tipped over in the polytunnel as well, and yeah, lettuces have ripped out, and there's the damage from the inside of the polytunnel. And when we looked around the back, the fence had been completely smashed there, and then the fence panel beside it had been completely caved in as well. We thought, what's going on? And this is the culprit. A Jacob's ram had smashed its way into our garden very early, but these things happen. So I've got out the gaffer tape and I've repaired the polytunnel as best I can, and hopefully that will hold. But when we get some strong winds, we'll find out. And the plants have been repotted up again, so they're looking okay. We've managed to salvage quite a lot of them, so it's not a complete disaster. And rather than getting the poor old farmer to pay for everything, we thought, do you know what, I've got loads of wood in the workshop, so I've repaired the fence. We can't see it from our side, and that will do. Who needs to have a new one? We can't see it behind the polytunnel anyway. So I'm quite pleased with the job I've done. The farmer's definitely pleased because he saved a few bob, and everyone is happy. And not only that, look what we also got in the garden. About a thimbleful of Jacob's fleece, and also a few nuggets. Lovely. So after a hard day of repairing the damage to the garden, there's nothing for it but a little drop of Prosecco to finish proceedings. Cheers everybody, thank you for watching, have a great week, and we'll see you next week.